Testing. All right. Will everybody please take their seats? We are ready to begin. Please rise for the presentation of the colors. Color guard, march. Will everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Post the colors and return to ranks. Everybody can be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Fred Musler, Troop 357 Scoutmaster, who will chair this Court of Honor.
Thank you, Miller. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's wonderful to see such a large crowd on this amazing afternoon where we award 5 Eagles. I just want to say I'm Fred Musler, Scoutmaster at Troop 357, and Beverly Cash is back there. She's with Troop 214. I want to thank our friends from 214 for joining us for this Court of Honor. And on behalf of Highland United Methodist Church and all of the families, we certainly welcome you here. Couple of logistics, behave yourself. We are being live streamed. We had some out-of-town folks that couldn't make it. And last logistic, if you need restrooms, out the door, to the right, and to the right. With that, I think we can call this Court of Honor to whatever we do when we start. Anyway, it's there. But it's always proper to start with an invocation. I'd like to ask Neil Smith, who's the youth minister here at Highlands, if he would say a few words and then have the invocation for us.
Let us pray. Gracious God Almighty, we invite you to join us today as we celebrate the good work of Troop 357 and Troop 214, and James Kramer, Jordan Kramer, Matthew Richards, Krista Showblood, and John Wiles for attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. Thank you for all the blessings that you have given us, both as a troop and as individuals. We ask that you bless James, Jordan, Matthew, Krista, and John, and their families, and the scouts, leaders, and guests who are assembled here. And Father, we ask for your continued guidance for the scouts of Troop 357 and Troop 214. Give our leaders, we pray, the patience and wisdom to guide each scout in life's pathway. We offer this prayer in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Neil. Appreciate that. We do have a lot of guests here, and I would like to give the Eagles an opportunity to introduce people who are important to them that came with them on this special day. James and Jordan, do you have some guests you want to introduce?
Of course, Aaron's here with me, and I'd also like to draw attention to the Pinewood family, lifelong family friends.
All right, thank you. John Wiles. Thank you. All right. Krista. All right. Matthew Richards. Thank you, Matthew. All right, and speaking of brothers, we have Matthew's got two older brothers who are Eagles in the troop. Jordan and James are the first brother-sister pair that I'm aware of that I've had the pleasure to participate in. And I know we've got lots of other brothers here. Carson's next up someday. So at this time, I'd like to call Sean, Sean Richards, brother Matthew, if you'd head up and help us out here. You know, before us stands a single gold candle, and it represents the spirit of scouting. It reminds us of the warmth of friendship, the golden glow of achievement, and the flame of purpose. The spirit of scouting gives life and light to the principles that guide our movements. A scout lives by an oath and a law. They give guidance and purpose to our life and actions. Today, we'll take a unique look at the scout law as explained through the words of an American hero. You know, a great American actor, John Wayne, who unfortunately passed away many years ago, but on one of his last public appearances was at a dinner. And he was riddled with cancer, and he knew it was close to death. The purpose of the dinner was to benefit a land purchase for a scout reservation that was called the John Wayne Outpost Camp. At this dinner, John Wayne recited the scout law. Then he did something unusual. He said the scout law, those 12 words, were nice words. Trouble is, he continued, we learn them so young, we sometimes don't get all the understanding that goes with them. I take care of that in my family. As each scout reaches scout age, I make sure they learn the scout law. And then I break it down for them with a few things I've picked up on the way in the more than half a century since I learned it. Then Wayne proceeded to explain the importance of the scout law, breaking it down for the guests at dinner, much like you would for a child. Miller, if you'd help us out here.
The badge of honesty. Having it lets you look at any person in the eye. Lacking it, they won't look back. Keep this one at the top of your list. The very word is life itself. For without loyalty, we have no love of person or country. Part sharing, part caring. By helping each other, we help ourselves, not to mention humanity. We are always full of help, a dying person's last words. Community is part of that word. You can take it in a lot of directions, and do, but make sure and start with community. Allow each person their human dignity, which means a lot more than saying, yes, ma'am, and thank you, sir. It reflects an attitude that later in life, you wish you had honored more, earlier in life. Save yourself that problem. Do it now. This one word would stop wars and erase hatreds. But it's like your bicycle. It's no good unless you get out and use it. It starts at home. Practice this in your family. Enlarge it in your friends. Share it with humanity. Anyone can put on a happy face when the going is good. The secret is to wear a mask for your problems. It might surprise you how many others do the same thing. It means a lot more than putting pennies away, and it is the opposite of cheap. Common sense covers it just about as well as anything. You do not have to fight to be brave. Millions of good, fine, decent folks show more bravery than heavyweight champs just by getting out of bed every morning, going out to a good day's work, and living the best life they know how against the law of odds. Keep the word handy every day of your life. Soap and water helps a lot on the outside, but it is the inside that counts, and don't ever forget that. Believe in anything that you want to believe in, but keep God at the top of it. With God, life can be a beautiful experience. Without God, you are just biding time.
Thank you, Miller. Thank you, Sean. At this time, Karsten, I'd like you to come forward. You have a part for us.
A different sort is an Eagle Scout. They're as good on the inside as the out. True to God and our nation's flag. A person's loyalty never sag. An upright person with a heart of gold. They can take the heat and can stand the cold. An adventurous sort of rough. Tough lass or lad. They'd share everything with anyone all they had. They're cheerful and good and filled with fun. They always help till the work is done. No loafer they are, this young person with skill, with their disciplined heart and their mind and will. They camp, they cook, they hike and climb. They can sing a song or make a verse that rhymes. They are a splendid youth with a lifetime goal. They're the type of person who's in control. A rare breed is this young Eagle Scout, who's as good on the inside as the out. So honor the eagle and model their deeds. They'll plow rich soil and plant good seeds. There's no better young person in this great land than an Eagle Scout with a helping hand.
Thank you, Karsten, for those words. We appreciate it. So at this time, I'd like to ask if our Eagles would come up and join us. James Kramer, Jordan, John Wiles, Krister Soblad, and Matthew Richards. If you guys would come up and just kind of line up right there in the middle for a minute, or probably 5, but that's okay. Here, right in the middle so everybody can, yeah, there you go. All right. So today we're here to recognize and honor these scouts for obtaining the rank of Eagle Scout. In Troop 357, the gentleman, and in Troop 214, Jordan. And they're joining, the guys are joining the other 209 Eagle Scouts that come from Troop 357 in the last 62 years. I know a lot of you are probably here for your first time and don't know what it is and what it takes to get here. You know, a person has to earn 21 merit badges. They're in a variety of subjects, variety of things. There's actually 132 to pick from. 9 of them are required, and another 16, or actually 12 are required, and another 9 that you can choose what you would like to do. You have to serve in positions of leadership in excess of 16 months in time throughout your scouting career. You've got to spend a whole lot of time in service, up to 13 hours before you get to life and work on Eagle. And then an Eagle leads, develops, and performs an Eagle project. Oftentimes these things take 50, 60, 100 hours and is quite the challenge. They represent some of the finest that we have. Scouting builds character and it teaches leadership and it provides one opportunities to serve others. You know, they've said out of 100 folks or 100 people who join scouting, only rarely will one appear in a juvenile court. It's estimated 12 will receive their first church contact with scouting. 5 will receive church religious emblems. 1 will enter the clergy due to their scouting relationships. 18 will develop hobbies that give them a lifelong interest. 8 will find their future vocations from work they did with their merit badges or other things. 1 will use their scout skills to save another person's life, and 1 will credit their scout skills for saving their own life. 17 will later become leaders in scouting and will pass on their skills, inspiration, and leadership to countless other youths that follow them. In 2022, just 6 out of 100 scouts reached the rank of Eagle Scout, and over the last 112 years in the entire history of the Boy Scouts of America, just 2% of all those who joined scouting reached the rank of Eagle. So those are some of the things that we have there, and then we'll talk a little bit about their journey, and we'll do it in a myth. Early one morning, a young scout stood at a trailhead. Before them rose a mighty mountain, which seemed to be all the mightier when compared to their smallness. A trail led to the mountain and then up to the incredible heights before vanishing in the clouds. On this trail, the scout could see other youth and leaders some of whom turned and beckoned them to follow, the scout began to climb, refusing perhaps to believe that they could ever reach the top. At first, the trail rose gently, and the scout had many companions. But soon they began to sweat and breathe heavily, and many of their companions turned away, and still the scout climbed. At times they climbed quickly. At times they climbed slowly. At times they had to go down a little way to find another path or stop while they catch their breath. But they still climbed, and the trail became steeper, the air thinner, and the climbers scarcely noticed, for they had, along the way, become stronger of body and mind and hardier of spirit. And still they climbed, and finally, in the cool peace of evening time, they stood alone at the top of the world and looked all around. To the left was the fiery golden sunset. To the right was a diamond-studded, silky black night sky. Behind was a trail they had followed and the hikers who were following along. And in front was another mountain, and another, and a whole procession of mountains marching off to the horizon. But the young scout knew that none of these other mountains were insurmountable. They all could and would be climbed, for they had learned many skills in climbing of the first mountain. And they would carry those skills through life long after this mountain was forgotten. And besides, tomorrow they could begin to climb the next mountain. Tonight the scout would rest and celebrate and ponder the journey that they had completed. And so this morning we pause to rest and celebrate those who honor these fine young adults as they stand at the top of the mountain and look out around them. Ladies and gentlemen, once you obtain the rank of eagle, it's not over. You don't become an eagle and move on. Once an eagle, always an eagle. And as our custom at this point in time, I'd like to ask all of the eagles in the audience if you would please stand. All the eagles in the audience. And I'm going to ask you if you'd tell us your name and where you got your eagle and what troop. And we'll start, how about in the back here, back left, that gentleman? You, sir. And we'll go to the back right there, sir. And Fred Musser, I got mine in 1974 in Sunrise, Florida, Troop 175. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Chet Mottershead, one of our Assistant Scoutmasters, if he'd come forward for the Eagle Charge and Challenge.
Trevor Spear sends his regrets that he can't be here today. We believe that the candidate should understand that the Eagle Scout rank is a responsibility as well as an honor. These are the responsibilities of an Eagle Scout. First is to live with honor. The Eagle Scout's honor is sacred. Honor is the foundation of all character. Character is what one has deep down inside, not what someone else thinks it is. An Eagle Scout will also live that they reflect upon their home, their church, their school, their friends, and upon themselves. May the white of the Eagle badge remind you that you live with honor. The second responsibility of an Eagle Scout is loyalty. Without loyalty, all character lacks direction. An Eagle Scout is loyal to his ideals. To yourself be true, and it follows that you cannot be false to anyone. Neither pain, nor profit, nor pride, nor personal loss shall swerve one in their loyalty. May the blue of the Eagle Scout badge always remind you to be loyal. The third responsibility of the Eagle Scout is courage. Courage gives all character force and strength. Trusting in God and the faith in one's fellow man, one faces each day unafraid and seeks to share in the world's work to do. May the red of the Eagle Scout badge remind you of courage. The final responsibility of the Eagle Scout is service. A scout extends a helping hand to those who still toil upon the scouting trail that they have completed, just as others have helped them in their achievement of the Eagle Scout rank. The habit of doing a good turn daily must take on new meaning and blossom forth in a life of service. The Eagle Scout protects and defends the weak and the helpless. They aid and comfort the unfortunate and the oppressed. They uphold the rights of others while defending their own. The code of action is based upon the belief that real leadership must be founded upon real service. May the motto, "Be prepared," always remind you that as an Eagle Scout, you are among the best prepared to be of service to others. May the eagle suspended from the Eagle Scout tricolored ribbon always remind you to perform that service when the opportunity presents itself. So, Eagle Scout candidates, are you willing to accept these responsibilities? If so, say, "Yes, I will." Louder. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Chet. All right. Time to get to the good part. So at this point in time, I'd like to invite Matthew, Krister, Jordan, and John, if you could have a seat over here, and if I could have Gary, Mary Jo Kramer, if you all would come up. And I guess, Chet, you're coming back, aren't you?
Mount. All right. I was so honored when James asked me to speak on his behalf and present his Eagle Merit Badge. As you all may know, James is an exceptionally bright young man. He's currently studying physics at UNC Charlotte. He's expected to graduate early, and rumor has it that he has made the chancellor's list every single semester. So he is the straight A stud in physics, and apparently wants to study super physics in grad school after all this. When I think of some of the great memories that I've had with, and the rest of the troop has had with James, we always Philmont is the first thing that comes to mind. And we were at Cypher's Mine, which is an old abandoned gold mine. You get to go down and tour it. It's really exciting. We see a bunch of mule deer kind of wandering around. And the next morning after Cypher's Mine, we all started hiking out. We were a couple hours in, and James takes a tumble down the mountain. I mean, pack on, 50-pound pack, banged up, cracked ribs. We worried did he have a punctured lung. He was really, really banged up. And so, of course, we get a couple other scouts to go run back to Cypher's Mine to go get an EMT and take care of him. And I was really impressed with how, he was seriously injured, but really kept his cool the whole time. we were all kind of scratching our heads. Okay, we've got, you know, a downed man, and then we've got this 50-pound pack. What are we going to do with that? And of course, one kid decided that he was going to wear 2 packs, put his pack on, and James is in the front, and that worked for every bit of about 100 feet. And then he threw his shoulder out. Sure enough, the EMTs came up and gave him a shot of something, but he got all giggly and happy, and was happy to kind of skip down the trail to the next point. But we were fortunate that he went back to base camp. They patched him up, and he was able to join us again on the trail. So we were real fortunate of that. It was great having Gary along. Gary was a cool customer throughout, and always a great resource. When I think of all the 12 points of the Eagle Scout law, the one that comes to mind when I think of James is a scout is trustworthy. James is the guy that if you need something to happen, you can trust James to get it done. He is loyal to his friends and his family, and he is loyal to task. You can trust him with the task. He will bird dog a project and get a hold of it, much like his dad. His dad's an IT guy, and we work together. Gary's the guy who stays up until 4 a.m. to make sure the network didn't blow up the night before. And James has got that same quality of just hard work, fortitude, and industriousness. So congratulations to you, James, and the family for your Eagle Scout. James also received after he got his Eagle Scout badge, he also received the bronze, silver, and gold palm. So awarding these as well to you. Congratulations on all that. So, thank you, man. James Kramer.
Okay, so you recognize this? Okay, well yeah. So let me get into this, guys. This is partly Matthew's fault. Actually, not totally. We're doing these in the order that these folks got their eagles. So there's nothing Matthew could have done about this because James was way early on before us. Oh no, I'm losing stars. Anyway. The point is, I have to have a script. People in the church, Neil knows this, everybody knows, and Chet's a member of our church, but my wife's worst nightmare is me with a microphone and no script. So hold on. Okay, you ready? Okie dokie. So, John, how long has it been? Been a while, right? You and me, it's been a while. Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly, but I know that I first met you and your family over a decade ago. It's a long time. And I feel safe in saying that other than Mr. Johnson, where are you, folks? I'm going to embarrass you a little bit later. Mr. Johnson, I believe that I may be the only person in the troop who has known you the longest. He's known you a little bit longer. I think I would be next. Speaking of Mr. Johnson, that's where this story begins. I am sure that many of you have heard my story about how Mr. Johnson got the Richards family involved in the troop. We were back when everything was held on Wednesday nights. Me and my older boys were walking through Bradley Hall, and Mr. Johnson basically said, "Hey, how come those two boys aren't in my scout pack?" And I came up with a great response. I said, "I don't know." Jim says, "We'll see you next Wednesday. Dodgeball starts at 7 p.m. The boys like, "Dodgeball? Definitely going to go to that." So we've been involved since then. Well, about 6 years later, Matthew's coming along, and Jim does that little thing again where after they had received their arrows of light, and Matthew was following in their footsteps, and then Jim comes up and asks me, "Hey, how come you haven't stepped up to be a den leader yet?" And again, I said, "I don't know." So he said, "Yeah, I need you to be a den leader." So that's when I'm John. After all that Jim and AJ and the other Cub den leaders had done for us, I agreed, but only on one condition: no brown shirt. I've never put on the brown shirt, but I was happy to do it. So that's how I was voluntold to become Matthew's den leader, and that explains how John and I first met. So way back when, John and Matthew were 2 of 5 young men who made up that year's Tiger Den in Pack, not Troop, but Pack 357. All right, so that's enough with the really, let's look at some of the stuff I brought. So these can go out on your little table. I told your mom I had these things. This is a rope that we fused way back when. You remember doing that? You don't. I remember it. You did it. This has fallen apart in transit, but this is Matthew, so I'm going to take it back. But John made one almost just like it, and this was how we learned what the Big Dipper looked like. Why would we need to know about the Big Dipper? What's that tell us at night, where we might be in the world? Thank you. Very good. The North Star sits bucket, right? No pressure. I told you I was just going to, I'm not going to prepare you for this. All right. All righty. This is John's hand back when he was in elementary school. His parents, we got Jay as a parent. He goes to Stow. His favorite food was tacos, and your favorite candy was Reese's Cups. So I'm going to put this out here so you can show everybody your hand what it looked like. And we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Catherine, because Catherine was an honorary member of our den. So this is what Catherine's hand looked like. And parent Jay goes to Stow. They're twins, by the way. Parent is Jay. At that time, he came to all the meetings. Stow is the school. Favorite food, tacos. This says candy, and she put Reese's. But I remember her favorite thing to do was to get under your skin. That is all she ever did. She was really good at that. Sorry, Catherine. Some more artwork. Some of the script we did for our Christmas pageant. I'll put these out there for you. Yeah. Enough down memory lane. So, John made a choice long ago to remain active in scouting. And he, along with Matthew, were the only 2 to cross the bridge from Webelos over to Troop 357. For those who are keeping track, that's 20% from our den. We all heard Fred a few moments ago talk about how only about 2% of the scouts ever earned the rank of Eagle. Well, I'm here to tell everyone that statistic is skewed here at Troop 357, and much of that has to do with Jim Johnson. If you would, Jim, raise your hand, stand up, either way. Let everybody know where you are, because Jim is a huge reason why we have all of these young men up here at Eagle today. Thank you, Jim. So John became a member of Troop 357 and began his journey along his path to Eagle. For these last few years, I have watched from the wings and observed a young man come into his own. He went from being a member of the Rue Patrol to being one of the Rue Patrol leaders. I will never know how you did that. I don't know how any of the young men ever do that. I don't know how you deal with the Rues without killing these children. So congratulations for doing that. You went from Rue to Rue leader, and you did a great job with that. He went from being a little bit shocked, if not quite dismayed, and this is something he asked me to bring up, that on his first camping trip with Troop 357 at Maple Hill Lodge, we saw temperatures drop to almost single digits. I think it went to 12 that night. And this is the camp they want people to come to join Scouts. I'm like, we might want to change the month that we do that in. But anyway, he went from that to pulling his weight in his patrol at Philmont, where we camped in near freezing temperatures the last week in June. What? We still had snow at Philmont the last week in June. It's crazy. He also went from being the bugler, seriously, each morning at summer camp, Reveille, that whole thing, he would do that. He was the bugler. He went from that to being the trumpet section leader for his high school marching band, and also participates in the wind ensemble and the jazz ensemble. And possibly, most importantly, this is real key, he went from being a typical teenager with an understandably limited exposure to quality music to, you ready? You knew this was coming. Yeah, he went from that to learning about there are only two types of music you can listen to on Saturdays on the way to camp, and that's country and Western. And then the one type of music that you can listen to on Sundays when you're coming back from camping, which is bluegrass gospel. True? Yeah. So John would often hitch a ride with me and Matthew to summer camp or camping trips, and as Matthew can attest, the road is a place to learn important things like who Johnny Cash was and how Earl Scruggs essentially invented the modern banjo riff. All right, John, it's been a pleasure to be with you on this important journey from the beginning. I know that you will go on to do great things next year at NC State and even beyond that. Real quick, one last memory. John wrote this back when he was a cub, and it says a lot about who he was. Yeah, he actually wrote this. It says a lot about who he was then, and he really hadn't changed much since then, and I don't think he will. Here's what he wrote. I will be a good scout, so I will be loyal and responsible. I commit to be attentive. I will stay calm and not be distracting. Well, I wanted it to kind of flow better. You were 6. Okay. Congratulations.
I didn't know I could bring props. It has been my distinct pleasure and privilege to be Jordan's Scoutmaster. She joined us in the summer of 2019, a few months after our troop got started, as they let girls into Scouts BSA. I know if she had had an opportunity to start any earlier, she would have. Clearly, the Kramers are a family of extraordinary people. Hearing about your brother and knowing what I know about you and the load that you take and deal with it at such an excellent level. You came in and like a rocket was going through your rank requirements and came basically fully formed. I didn't get a little cub who was awkward and figuring out what was going on. I got a fully formed human, which was awesome. You came in ready to lead and to learn and to share what you knew, which was a gift to our troop. You have served in many roles in our troop and with our chapter and our lodge for Order of the Arrow. You have been on staff for NYLT National Youth Leadership Training and staffed Wood Badge same year. You went to Philmont same summer. I don't know when you sleep. Honestly, I don't know when you sleep. When COVID came in and the world stopped and we kept going virtually, no one played her in Kahoot. She's always gonna win. You kept us going. You kept the energy up and the spirit going, even when we were working remotely. Whenever there was a service opportunity, you were one of the first ones that would show up. You were at every camp out, just about. I think the few that you missed were aberrations. Even when you were training for Philmont, you were going to our campouts as well, which spoke so highly of you being able to carve out that kind of time every month. It was a blessing to have you there. You would bring your wonderful attitude and, more importantly, your tunes for whenever it got quiet. A dance party might be coming out any minute. We did a version of our youth leadership training down at the beach, and it was quiet Saturday night. We'd all had dinner and come back, and we were figuring things out. And George's like, you know, we need some tunes. And next thing I know, a dance party's going on. And the whole living room at the beach house is rocking. These sorts of things happen when you're around, which is wonderful, wonderful. When we're waiting for people to show up for a drive-through court of honor, a dance party happens in the parking lot. These are not the things that you can ask of Scout. These are the things you bring to us, and we're very grateful for that. You have put so much effort in, and it's amazing to have watched your journey and to be part of it. The very rocket-fast one that even COVID couldn't stop to get to Eagle. I know whatever your journey is in front of you, you are going to knock it out of the park. And any obstacle that gets in your way is going to be a challenge and not a problem that you are going to overcome. And at this point, I'm going to hand over your goodies. Congratulations. Soak it in, soak it in. And Jordan also earned a bronze palm, which has already been affixed to her medal. Congratulations.
So how about this kid? Krister has always had a jam-packed schedule. So I know he's got his running team here. The kid runs like the wind, and has always got some kind of track meet or cross country. I'm doing a mini marathon by myself tomorrow, and he's always just on the go. He's been real active here at Highland, helping out with some of the programs here in youth, along with Karsten. It's been a big help here. He's wrapping up his junior year, wants to study engineering, hopefully at State, hopefully somewhere close by, right? Yeah. The first experience I had with Krister was as a root. He was, or maybe he was a tenderfoot. We were canoe camping out at Merchant's Mill Pond, which is up near a hostel. And it was March, so there was a nip in the air. And we're all canoeing back through the wetlands, and I look, and Krister's in the back of the canoe. Maybe that's the picture out there, on the slide board outside. But you see Krister, and he is just arms out, canoe paddles in the canoe, and he is just totally strung out. And I don't even know, maybe it was Matthew in the front trying to paddle by himself. And I come up to him, I paddle up to him, and I'm like, "What's going on, bud?" "I don't feel good, I'm cold, I'm tired, so I started going, okay, safety checklist, so it's, first thing, all right, bud, what did you have for breakfast this morning? "A Pop-Tart." It's like, well, there's your problem, mister. You've been up, packing up, running around, and now you're trying to paddle back a mile back to the ranger station. I said, "Don't worry. We'll get you back to the ranger station, get some hot chocolate in you, and you'll be fine." But really, that started the Pop-Tart rule on our camping trips, where no candy breakfast, because we don't want some kid to be strung out when we need him to be paddling. Krister has taken off like a rocket in this troop. I was really impressed with the work he did at Philmont. One of the things is, Krister's a vegetarian, and so he did a great job of, getting food sent along the trail at stops along the way. And what he would do is take, he had his liter Nalgene bottle, and first thing in the morning when there was, meat on the docket for dinner, he would take this stuff, this powder of like lentils and goo and everything, and he'd pour that into his Nalgene bottle first thing in the morning and fill it up with water. And throughout the day, would just sit there and cook into this kind of green sludge that he would pound down at the end of the day. I'm sure it was protein packed, right? No candy dinner. And I was just impressed with how well he managed it. It was one of those things where it's, not a big deal. He was not, but just managed it really well, and was just really impressed of how much of a leader he was on the trail, helping others. And that's one of the things is when I think of the one point of the Scout law that reminds me of Krister, it's a Scout is reverent. He has had a number of strong challenges. His dad has passed. And Stephanie and Karsten, they have done you kids, you as a family have done a fantastic job. I've been so impressed with Stephanie, the work you've done and the support here that has been provided. It's been great to see God's love flow through you. Congratulations.
there. First thing I've noticed is that I don't have the easy eloquence that Chet and Beverly have. And Rick, I'm glad you're here. I only got one problem, and he's waiting out there. Okay. So I wrote a letter. This letter to you guys, it's all about Matthew. I'm very pleased to be able to say a few words about Matthew. Matthew's a quiet young man. We all know that. Meaning things happen and get done, but without a lot of fanfare, that's a good thing. Matthew earning his Eagle rank and all of us gathering here shows the quiet ones get their deserved notice too. Matthew's an experienced scout. He's on that Maple Hill trip that you keep hearing about. Early on, he experienced Maple Hill Lodge in Umstead Park in February. And the weather's around 12 degrees. He got enlightenment, and that be prepared suddenly had meaning. It means bring the good sleeping bag. He's also a veteran manhunt participant. Now, for those of you who don't know what manhunt is, I don't know what it is either. Apparently, it's a kind of chaotic tag / hide and go seek in the dark, in the woods, where there are going to be a lot of obstacles. Matthew is out there with the best of them, and he likes it. He also found out that rocks are hard, unyielding, and never quite where you expect them. The learning never stops. He's well trained for this by years of playing soccer, Gaga Pit, that's another one of those games, King of the Hill, and hiking. Matthew is a team player. He practiced hiking at Philmont Scout Ranch. He was well accompanied by his dad, Rick, a seasoned Philmonter. He's been there. And brought the wisdom of his two brothers, Will and Sean, also 357 Eagles. He told me about a few of the sights and things that stood out to him. He learned something. Number one, packs get heavy. More enlightenment. He mentioned Garcia Cow, the Stockade, the Trail Peak Hike, the crashed B-24 bomber, the Clear Creek, as all things that were memorable to him. Then he mentioned fish camp, and the lights came on. Matthew likes fishing. I asked him if he preferred fresh or saltwater fishing, and he said yes. I think fresh has a slight lead. Matthew was a trusted guardian of Cookie Monster, a troop talisman, and was part of an elite team dedicated to ensuring his safe return from the wilds of New Mexico. Ask him about Cookie. He has had numerous leadership positions in the troop and is a member of the Honor Society of Scouts, the Order of the Arrow. He has brought the troop victory, glory, and bragging rights by crewing the annual Durant Huck Finn race in a scout-built watercraft of questionable seaworthiness. Matthew is active here at HUMC with their youth group and the Highland Service Project and assists families in the area. He's headed off to college this fall at UNC Wilmington to pursue an accounting major. You know they teach that at inland schools too. You know that? Okay. I know he's going to do great. Matthew is part of a strong scouting family, the Richards. Chris, Rick, Will, and Sean have been excellent parents, brothers, and mentors. They and Matthew can be very proud today. I'm honored to present Matthew and his parents with the badge and insignia showing his well-earned achievement. Congratulations.
Well, don't want to let it go unsaid that the five of us appreciate the crew that was able to set up the ceremony here today. So if we can give them a hand, I appreciate that. Yeah. But I made it, I guess. So, and I guess I wouldn't be here without a lot of people. So some thank yous are in order. And I guess I got to start with my parents because, well, they're the whole reason that got into scouting. I'm happy to have been able to continue this family tradition. And for being resources, advocates for me, and simply just being my parents. I know I can't say thank you enough, but we got to do it right now, so thank you to you guys. And also near the beginning of my scouting journey, Mr. Jim Johnson, just for creating that positive atmosphere and getting little kids who don't yet understand what's going on in the scouting program, to easing them into that. Looking back on that, I've now realized how valuable what you did was. So I think you deserve a real round of applause too for that. Yeah, and also to my peers in scouting, to the people that taught me, people like Sean Richards and Richard Lochbaum as my route patrol leaders. That was a valuable teaching experience to me, to experience that, to Mr. Mottershead for also helping me through that gateway into the troop, to the people that I got to lead. I think maybe that gets passed over a little too much, but y'all can be happy you had a piece in every single Eagle that is up here graduating from the troop. Without you guys, it's not possible to practice that leadership. So say keep that in mind, and I charge you to treasure that as you guys go through that process too. And of course to all the Scoutmasters and adult leadership along the way, to Fred, to Mr. Mottershead, to my dad, to Mr. Freeman, Mr. Knowles, Mr. Shack, Mr. Jordan, and a whole lot of other people. I wouldn't be here today without y'all. I know y'all spend a ton of time, energy, and what I can only imagine is a healthy amount of mental anguish and dealing with the kids, but it's also, I can now look back and notice that you guys were happy doing it. So another round of applause for all the adult leadership. Yeah. And so, yeah, I have one more special thank you, I guess, to hand out. So, and this is to someone that really just, I felt, provided a steadfast structure for my whole scouting journey. Someone that I became familiar with as someone that I can depend on to be a stable resource, to be a wellspring of knowledge, and to just to be the fulcrum about which my scouting journey turned. And so it is with great pleasure I can look back now and to someone that I know would tell me they were glad to do what they do, but I know there ain't nothing wrong with a little award for it too. So Mr. Fred Musler, my Mentor Award.
So, in a move that I believe will surprise very few people who know me, I do not have a specific script. However, the surprising part about that is because I know exactly what I'm going to say, and that is thank you. To every single person in this room whom I've interacted with, just thank you for helping me along this path. And I would like to thank Mr. Musler, and I think that comes with a story from, I think it was my first year at Durant, so I was in 6th or 7th grade. Camp Durant was holding a carnival. It was games everywhere and all that, but somehow the older scouts in my troop, the most appealing thing there was a big pile of mulch. And so they climbed on top and started a big game of King the Hill. I joined in, obviously, and eventually Miss Boggs comes running down. Get down from there, stop doing that, and us being responsible scouts, we turned and fled. We ran straight back to camp. And perhaps it was the fact that you could see our campsite from the before-mentioned pile of mulch. Perhaps it was the fact that we had big logos on the back of our shirt. And perhaps it's the fact that we weren't good actors when we, covered in mulch, sat down and acted like we'd been playing cards. Regardless, we got caught. So, she comes into camp on a golf cart, talks to Fred, is shaking with rage at that point, I think. And so he comes over and, says, hey, you shouldn't do that. And then when she deemed that we had been suitably chastised, she left. And Mr. Musler asked the all-important question, well, did you win? And I feel like that spirit is what has made this troop such a wonderful experience for me, and for that I would like to thank Mr. Musler. And then, of course, we come to the Mentor Pin, and this also comes with a small story. Not a story of fun or adventure or seeing something really cool, but takes place around a fire. It's night 1 or 2 of Philmont, and we're going around a circle and doing roses, buds, and thorns. And if you aren't familiar with it, you say one thing that you're looking forward to, one thing you've not enjoyed, and one thing you have enjoyed in not quite that order. And as we're coming along, it's a lot of, I'm looking forward to Philmont. Great. I'm looking forward to hiking. Well, yeah, that's what you're here for. And then it comes to Mr. Richards, and he says that he is excited to see Matthew and I. Now, it took me a second because I was like, of course, Matthew, that makes sense. It's just good. And then me. And that really meant a lot. And like I said, it's not the most grandiose story, but it is quite possibly the one that means the most to me. And with that, I think that pin's okay? Come on.
First, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here. And scouting has taught me so much more than outdoor skills. I've learned to move with a sense of urgency and be a strong leader, and I've made some of my best friends. I'd like to thank Mr. Jim Johnson and Mr. Fred Musler for being the exceptional leaders of Pack and Troop 357. Seeing my dad and brother involved in these units showed me that scouting was something I wanted to be a part of. I enjoyed spending time with the members of 357, making tomahawk targets, boats for the Huck Finn race, Pinewood Derby cars, and working on their Eagle projects. I also want to thank my family and friends for supporting me in this endeavor, Mr. Burdett, Mr. Mabry, and Ms. Walker for their guidance at Philmont, which was a challenge to say the least. And Ms. Graves, the dance teacher at Broughton High School, for the opportunity to complete my project for the dance departments. This summer I will be on the staff at Camp Durant, working in the Trailblazer area, teaching first-year scouts. And in the fall, I'll be serving as a senior patrol leader on the Council's National Youth Leadership Training course. Next school year, I'll be attending NC State, pursuing a major in accounting, and I couldn't be happier to be the 4th Eagle Scout of the Kramer family. I'd like to present my mentor pin to my Scoutmaster, Mrs. Cash. She was there to help with every dilemma I had in my time-compacted journey, and I couldn't have done it without her.
All right. So first off, I'd like to thank all the individuals here. I have just so much thanks for everyone who's come to support me. It's been a long time, so thank you. So I just want to start this by thanking some individuals that have helped me get to this point. There's Mr. Harrop, who's a kind-hearted leader, who's a prominent role model since my first time in the troop. Mr. Mottershead, a charismatic supporter, who throughout my harder years in Scouts really helped me through. Mr. Spear, though not here today, a calm, go-with-the-flow guy who sacrificed a lot of his time and resources to help me finish my Eagle project. And Mr. Musler, an optimistic leader who has always been the heart of this troop. And without him, Scouts surely wouldn't be the same. So I could have said a lot of things about Scouts, a lot of stories, but I thought I'd just start from the beginning. So my favorite memory from Cub Scouts with Jim Johnson was the Pinewood Derby cars. Each year, my dad and I would work together to build a car. And my first year in Scouts, it was all about speed. I wanted the fastest car out of our entire pack. So my dad worked many hours to find the ideal design. Most of my dad's inputs were something along the lines of, if we go with this design, it will decrease drag and allow for the car that accurately distributes weight for maximum speed. And of course, my suggestions were more like, yeah, the car should be like blue, and and there should be a Lego guy in the driver's seat for maximum speed. And that year, I placed second in the pack, so I was ecstatic. For the next few years, the aim was more on design, where we would try to win the best-looking category in the race. Complex lighting that, even to this day, I have no idea how he pulled off, was the main gimmick of our car. We won all the years we had the lights. In the final few years, which we didn't win anything, but it was still a blast to make the cars with him, and the work that he put into that really touches deeply with me. So rounding off my final year of derby racing, it was time to cross over into Boy Scouts. I was a little nervous when I got into the room full of older Scouts. It was very intimidating seeing them, since I was this small child standing at, well, I don't even know if this justifies it, because you can't see my hand, but about like yay big. But the troop was very welcoming, and I met many Scouts who helped to define who I am today. And a wise man once said, while it is always best to believe in oneself, a little help from others can be a great blessing. And this is true whether it be on camping trips or just around the meetings. Conversing with others and working towards a goal helped me grow in both character and maturity. Scouts was definitely a pivotal experience in my life, teaching me how to present myself around others and how to be a leader in the face of adversity. Camping trips were my favorite part of Scouts, hands down. They really gave me an appreciation of nature and taught me a lot about the wilderness. There's just something invigorating about being in the elements, just you, your clothes, a tent, against nature, that gives you a sense of excitement. Believe me, as you know from Mr. Mottershead's introduction, nature got the best of me more than once. There was always camping trips where you're just so miserable because of the cold that you pondered why you enjoyed excursions like this in the first place. But good times become good memories, but bad times make good lessons. And this much is true because every bad trip, I learned not to make those same mistakes again. Camping was as much a learning experience as anything else in life. You live, you learn, and you enjoy the process along the way. It was often the bad experiences that you remember the most. And looking back at all those times now, you kind of just laugh. So it's really great. Philmont was, for many, a life-changing trip. It's the pinnacle of backpacking in all regards to Scouts. 2 weeks of backpacking in New Mexico without as much as a phone call. Going through that experience was one of my favorite things I've ever done thus far. Every day seemed like its own eternity. The backpacking, brutal. The food, bland. And the bathrooms, non-existent. However, despite the conditions, you can remember every day with vivid detail like it was yesterday. The views were more beautiful, and you saw almost every season in the mountains of New Mexico. Despite being in the peak of the summer, there were nights where it was 20 degrees in areas that had snow. But seemingly just a couple miles away, it was blistering hot and dry. These conditions made the journey memorable and made the amazing views every bit more satisfying. It made you appreciate the little things. And after 2 weeks without a shower, from that point forward, I can say with certainty that I have never passed up the opportunity to take one. It was truly like nothing else, and it really brought me closer to scouting and my fellow scouts like never before. The shared experience is one thing that I can reflect on as a venture that every scout should strive to do. I would like to encourage all the younger scouts here today to go to Philmont because it is, in its entirety, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. My Eagle project was another great hurdle that I had to overcome. My initial plan was to make a bridge over a creek that, in all my years running at Umstead, I had never been able to cross. The plan was a tad overzealous because it would have probably cost thousands upon thousands of dollars to complete, but I was hopelessly optimistic nonetheless. However, I settled on making some Adirondack chairs for Camp Sycamore instead. The process of getting the paperwork done and the necessary documents signed was an amount of red tape that I hadn't dealt with ever. Once that was over, I could finally begin the construction of my chairs. With the help of Hip Design and Consulting, they were able to make me some plans that were to scale. So for that, thank you. The project ended up taking much longer than I expected, and it was certainly satisfying to see the result of all the hard work that my friends, family, and fellow scouts put in to help me complete the project. In this, I learned a lot about leadership and being flexible enough to work through an issue when something doesn't go to plan. So to end it out, from my whole experience in scouting, I can truly say that it is a bittersweet to be ending this chapter of my life. My grandfather was an Eagle Scout as well. He was a kind-hearted, charismatic, and intelligent man who I always strived to be. When he died, I made a promise to myself that I would become an Eagle Scout. And being here today in front of you all fills me with all kinds of joy that I finally did it. And I know that both my grandfather and my dad are smiling down from heaven at all that I have accomplished. So I end this speech here with advice. Take pride in how far you've come. Have faith in how far you can go. But don't forget to enjoy the journey. Thank you. And as for my mentorship pin, I'd like to give it to a person that's been there from the beginning. Really just, he makes everything possible in this troop. Well, at least from my experience, he was really there to support me. And I honestly couldn't have completed it without him. He was, whether it be the rides he gave me or just various things. Maybe it was the cooking. He was always, asking me, like, hey, we should cook this meal, and I was down for it because I really like cooking. But I would like to give my mentorship pin to Mr. Musler.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank everyone for taking time out of your day to come out to this Eagle Scout ceremony. It really means a lot to me. First, I would like to thank the people who have supported me the most in my journey to the Eagle. I'd like to thank Mr. Musler, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Marshead, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Spear, Mr. Shack, Mr. Lamb, Mr. Davis, Mr. Pleasant, and my family. It is such an honor for me to receive my Eagle Scout Award after many years of scouting. I've always been involved in scouting since I was a Cub Scout in the first grade, and some of my favorite Cub Scout memories were hobo dinners with Mr. Johnson, Pinewood Derby, and selling popcorn. As some of you may know, both of my brothers were Eagle Scouts, and I am grateful to follow in their footsteps to Troop 357. While I was in Troop 357, I really had a lot of fun. Some of my fondest memories in Troop 357 include sleeping in 12-degree weather at my first camping trip at Maple Hill Lodge, and shooting guns and playing Capture the Flag at All Red Farm, fishing from a canoe at Merchant's Mill Pond, hiking as fast as possible down Mitchell for the practice hike for Philmont. And then everything about Philmont. Well, everything at Philmont was great, the food was not. And the most memorable thing at Philmont was on the last day, going into town and finally having a real meal. Thanks again to all the people who have helped me get here. I'm aware that a lot of people spent a lot of time helping me achieve this goal, and I apologize if I have left anybody out. I would also like to thank all the guys in the troop who have made Scouts so much fun for me. Lastly, I would like to give my mentor pin to my father, who has done the most for me in Scouting. He has been there on every camping trip. He pushed me through Philmont, and I could not have done it without him. Thank you.
Well, a wonderful afternoon, and I think we can all be proud of all of these young people, our future generation, our future leaders. I think we could be in good hands. As we get ready to close up, just remind everybody, feel free to hang around. We've got some refreshments, they have some displays out there, and offer your congratulations. So before we close up, I'd like to ask Neil if he'd like to give us a closing prayer.
Let us pray. Thank you, God, for the opportunity for us to gather today as a family, friends, leaders, and fellow Scouts on the significant day in James, John, Jordan, Krister, and Matthew's lives. We thank you, God, for your support for everyone who has helped guide these young people on their Eagle Trail. We are grateful for the scouting experiences and opportunities that have led to this day. Please help James, John, Jordan, Krister, and Matthew to live up to that honor and responsibility and expectations that this Eagle Award represents. Help them wear this title with pride and distinction as an example to others. May they continue to grow in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and humanity. And may the great Scoutmaster of all Scouts be with us until we meet again. Amen.
Would you please rise for the retiring of the colors? Color guard, please come forward. Color guard, retire the colors. This concludes the Eagle Scout Court of Honor. Congratulations. Everybody's dismissed.